Hey guys, I'm sorry that I can't be with you today, but we are going to go ahead and move on to lesson 2.9, solving inequalities by adding or subtracting. So you need to get out your binders and work on your bell ringer. So here's your bell ringer for the day, and I actually have the popsicle sticks. Hear that? So I'm going to call two names. Sun Young, will you do number 1? And Michelle, will you do number 2? Go ahead and pause the video, work on those problems, and then when you're done, when they've done both problems, we'll go over them together and resume the video. Okay, so for number 1, I know that my writing might overlap with Sun Young and Michelle's, but what we should have is we should have an open circle at 2 because there's no line under the x or under the inequality sign, and we want values that are less than 2. So Sun Young, hopefully shaded to the left. We want all values that are less than 2. And remember, make sure it's very obvious which direction you're shading. For the second one, it says write an inequality for the graph. We're going to use x. I'm going to assume that Michelle probably used x because everyone likes that. And then our circle's at 0, so I'm going to put a 0 over here. For my inequality sign, I'm going to say, okay, my circle is filled in, so I know it's going to be or equal to, and I want values that are less than that. So I'm going to have less than or equal to 0. Those are your answers for your bell ringer. If you didn't get those, make sure you change those. I'll give you a second. Now we'll move on. So here are your notes. When solving an inequality, follow the same steps as solving an equation. We're going to follow the same steps. Do the opposite operation. So the opposite of addition is subtraction, and the opposite of subtraction is addition. We continue to use this idea that what we do to one side, we do to the other. Go ahead and pause the video until you've all got the notes copied down. Okay. Solve the inequality and graph the solution. So I'm going to still use my line to show that what I do to one side, I do to the other. I'm trying to solve for D. So since I have D plus 9, 9 is being added, I'm going to do the opposite operation. I'm going to subtract 9 to both sides. Subtract 9, subtract 9. Over here they cancel out, and we're left with just D. We're going to bring down our inequality sign. And over here we have 16 minus 9, which is going to give us 7. So when I do this, I'm going to put a circle at 7. Since there's no equal to line underneath it, I'm going to leave it open. And then I want numbers that are greater than 7. So I'm going to shade to the right. Big and obvious which direction I'm going. And that's it. So there's 2 parts. We solved it, we got the D greater than 7, and we graphed it. Make sure that on your homework you're reading carefully. Sometimes you have to do just one or the other, but you make sure you're reading if you have to do both solving and graphing. So now we have same idea, solve the inequality and graph the solution. I'm going to draw my line, and I have k minus 4. I want to do the opposite operation, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Add 4 and draw my line. Over here, the 4's cancel out. Now I have k less than or equal to negative 3. So there I solved the inequality. That's the first part. I solved it. But I have to graph it now. So since I had negative 3 over here, I'm going to put a circle at negative 3. This one had the equal to sign underneath it, so I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to close that circle and make it solid. And I want values that are less than negative 3. So I'm going to shade all the values that are less than negative 3. We need to pause so that people can get these written down. That's absolutely fine. Do what you got to do. All right. Solve the inequality, graph the solution. Same instructions as before. Negative 5 is greater than or equal to m plus 3. So we switch the order, and that's okay. But I want to draw my line, and then I have m plus 3. So I have to do the opposite operation. Even though the variable is on the other side, the same rules apply. I've got plus 3, so I have to do minus 3. I have to do the opposite. And I'm going to get negative 8 is greater than or equal to m. Now, the problem is I don't want to graph it just like this because many people will graph it incorrectly based on this sign right here. I want to flip it around so that the variable comes first. I want to write the variable first and the number last. But when I flip this around, I have to flip everything, including the sign. So I'm going to flip that to make it less than or equal to. When you're writing your inequality, write it just like this. Okay? So we're going to have a circle at negative 8, and I'm going to fill it in because it's got the equal to underneath it. And then I want values that are less than. So I'm going to shade less than and make it obvious. If you have questions, stop and ask each other. All right, I want you to try this one on your own. Pause the video. You don't have to talk to anybody for this one. Okay. So we have a line through, and then you should say, okay, I am subtracting 3, so I want to add 3 to both sides. Add 3 to both sides. So I have 10 less than v. But remember we said we want the variable to come first, so I'm going to switch everything around. I'm going to switch the v and the 10, but I'm also going to switch that inequality sign, and it's going to be greater than. So I'm going to have a circle at 10, but since there's no equal to underneath it, it's going to stay open, and then I'm going to shade values that are greater than 10. So the reason I have you switch it around is because when people graph this, they'll put a circle at 10 and they'll even make it open, but then they look at this sign right here and they say, oh, it's less than. I have to shade the values that are less than. And we don't want that. We only want the values that are greater than. Word problems, everybody's favorite, but this is why we do math. Elena wants to buy a new phone and she has been saving her money. The phone costs $346, and Elena currently saved $175. How much more does she need to save? Write and solve an inequality. Well, remember when it comes to word problems, we're going to underline the important information. The phone, we know that it costs $346. And she currently has $175. How much more does she need? So we know that the goal is to get to $346. Right now, right now she has $175. So we want to know how much she needs. When we think about the total amount of money, how much she needs, and the amount she has saved, we want that to add or subtract to be 346. Well, we want it to add. We're going to take the amount that she currently has and add the amount that she has to save in order to get the amount that she needs. So we want an inequality though. So we have to decide what sign goes here. To decide what sign goes here, think to yourself, what is the goal? She needs to have at least $346. At least. Can she have more? Can she have less? Those are the two questions. Can she have less? Can she have more than $346? Yeah, that's okay. It's okay to have more than $346. Can she have less? No. Because if she has less than $346, she's not going to be able to buy the phone. So, since we can have more than, we want this value over here to be more than the 346. So I want this value to be more than 346. Can she have exactly $346? Yeah, 346 would buy her the phone. So it can be equal to. This right here is the trickiest part. So when you're doing word problems, Stop and ask yourselves these questions. Can they have more? Can they have less? Reword it so that you can fill it in. So here's our inequality. Now it says solve it. So I'm gonna rewrite it over here. And I'm going to say, okay, I need to solve for x. And I'm going to subtract 175. Subtract 175. Cross those out, and we get x is greater than or equal to. And when we subtract that, we should get 1. I'm going to borrow from there. And that'll give me 7, and then 1. So it's a word problem, so we have to write our final answer as a sentence. So we're going to say, she needs at least and that's it. So for this problem, you have to include this, you have to include this, and you have to include this. 3 parts. Writing the equation, solving the inequality, and writing your answer as a sentence. Here's your homework. Page 114, numbers 2 through 18 even, and 19 through 21. So you have the rest of class time to work on that. If you want to work with a partner, you can. You can use the tables in the back, or you can stay at your desks, but that's your homework, and it's due tomorrow. Send me any questions that you have, or talk to each other, or talk to anybody. Yeah, talk to somebody. Ask questions. It's good. I miss you guys, and I can't wait to see you on Monday. Have a good day.